Right, let's do it. People, we have been sold for the longest time now that the only way to acquire the positive mental attributes that we're looking for, your disciplines, your hard work ethics, is to find the hardest way to do something and do it for the longest amount of time. Now, while there is some absolute truth in the fact that if you put yourself towards your goals and you do so with your full heart's intent, you will achieve some things, this fails on one critical point. You can waste a lot of time if you base yourself in how much work have I done? How many hours have I spent doing something? This is a very poor metric to run by, but it's one that we have for the longest of times been told is the one to run by. And not only should we look at how long we've done something, we should also look at how hard we've done something. This, from my personal experience, is a very, very, very efficient way of leading yourself to burnout with not great results. In recent months, I have realised that the most important aspect of working towards things is not how long you're working on it, but what you get done in that time. I shall give you an example recently that has really sparked the idea that we're going to be talking about today. I spent a long time swearing by the fact that the best way to write my scripts for videos or for research, whatever it is to do it by pen, because it is the way that is most organic and you're really doing the work if you do it by pen. Since taking the time to invest in my trusty iPad that is to my left, I have seen with full HD vision the value of finding the thing that makes it easiest to do what it is that you're doing, not the thing that is most sort of glamorous in that way of look how much hard work I'm doing. Since switching to a way that's quicker, I've been able to do far more work in far less time. Now, for the mind of that sort of the self-improvement addict, we should put it, that feels wrong. Because you feel as though, well, hang on, surely it's better if I'm doing 3 hours of work on something rather than 1 hour. Well, I'm going to tell you for a fact, it's not that way. If you're spending 3 hours doing something that could take you an hour, not only are you robbing yourself of that time to potentially take those 2 hours you've freed up and do something more useful with them, you're also kidding yourself into thinking that you're doing what you should be doing. And it's very ironic that the hard-working mind will assume or will put at the forefront of his mind that he needs to avoid certain bad habits, and then will incorporate bad habits like this one, all in the name of, yeah, but David Goggins said so. Now, David Goggins is a wonderful person, and we will be getting on to the importance of some of his ethics later on in this video, so stay tuned for that. So, our intention with growth and with self-improvement is not the time invested, but the skills gained. We need to pay more attention to the fact that what we're actually trying to do is become better at something. And we want to do that as quickly as we can, because we don't have time to waste, do we? We know that you don't just want to be the best version of yourself in terms of your business. You also want to be the best version of yourself in terms of your physical, your body, how you look, going to the gym. That's to put it in a more simpler way. You don't want to spend more time on anything than you absolutely have to, unless it's something that you enjoy. And if it's something that you enjoy, and that thing just so happens to be something that you can work on, then you still want to optimize that, because you want to get as good at that as you can do. It's very important that we have a sort of reframe put in place on the fact that you're not here to say, I did 10 hours of work on that. You're here to say what you got done, and more specifically, what you got out of doing that thing. We want results quickly, and when we get results quickly, we can get more results. And who doesn't want that? We need to become critical thinkers when it comes to how we perceive what is good and what is not good for us. It is not as simple as going, oh, I saw online that you need to read 10 pages a day, so I've got to do that. No. Get out of this mindset. This is something that I was stuck in for a very long time. Don't follow your self-improvement sort of strategy through someone else. Take ideas from people, bring them back to base, and see what works. A wonderful example that I can put forth to this is reading. Now, We have been told, and I have heard a lot of people be told, that one of the most critical things for them to do is to read. And while, as someone who does read, I agree with this, I think this sort of falls away at the seams when it comes to certain people. Now, there's a very good friend of mine who is also marvellously intelligent, who absolutely abhors reading. He cannot stand reading a book, and he struggles as a result to read that book. Not only does he lose the information in the book because he won't read it, he also feels bad about the fact that he's not reading the book that he knows he should be reading. He and I had a conversation recently about the fact that it's not about the bragging rights of saying you're someone who has read or someone who reads a lot. It's about the information that's in the book. And that information is not only in that book. There are other places you could find that. For me, for instance, I find podcasts and movies as well very useful in terms of acquiring information. I seem to be much better at actually listening to information than I am at reading it. Now, the important thing to remember on that point, as I say, is it's not about how you're digesting that information. It's about what you're getting. If you find it a lot easier to listen than to read, then spend most of your time listening, because you're going to be getting the information that way. And I also think inadvertently, if you prioritise reading because you know it's a good thing to do, but it's something that's very friction based and is hard for you to do, then you're not actually going to get results from doing that, because you need to be mentally switched on as to actually be invested in the resource in front of you. But not only that, you're also, as a result of spending that time there, stopping yourself from spending the time where you could spend it. You could have spent that time listening to a podcast and you would have got more information out of that. Don't let your ego run in front of you when it comes to your work ethic and your striving for goals. You need to do it in the smartest of ways. And this is why, and I've made videos on this recently, but it's a point that I'm going to continue to bang the drum on. You don't do things for the sake of discipline. You do things for the sake of what discipline affords you. Now, that can be the prestige of getting something done, or the good feeling of knowing that you have information, or just the good feeling of knowing you're putting yourself towards something. There are other ways to do it besides the hardest way to do it. A good example that I should put forth is my experiences as someone who does martial arts and has recently stopped sparring. Now, the gym that I go to seem to quite enjoy hard sparring, and as a result of that, I go to sparring on Saturday mornings. I have spent the last however many months thinking from Saturday evening until the next Saturday morning, fuck's sake, I've got to go and get my arse handed to me again, and that's going to take 3 hours out of my morning that I don't want to give to that. And recently I realised that as a result of that fear and that literal hatred of going there, that I'm not, one, actually getting a great deal out of it, because my form is not as good as it should be, because I just really don't want to be there, and you can tell in my body language, which is more likely to get me injured for one. But as a result of doing that, I'm less likely, and have been doing less, work at home or in other sports, because I just hate it. I don't have any love anymore of, going on a punch bag on my own terms, because I'm too focused on the fact that I don't want to do that part of things. My point there is, since I've decided, do you know what, that's really just not working for me, I've been able to afford myself more time to do other sports which make me fitter, and I've now opened up the fact that I want to, on my own terms, go and spar with my friends, or go and work on the punch bag or shadow box. Just do the things that will get me the growth. And this ties us into a nice point that I think is important for the sake of this. The reason why I wouldn't say you should put all of your eggs in one basket when it comes to information is that there is certain information that you cannot access without going through the least desirable or most strenuous way. So a good example that I should put forth is movies versus books. Now, this might sound strange to you, but movies, when you use a movie right, you can learn a lot and not have to do anything for it. Movies, particularly nowadays, have become more and more based in, if you have a true to life series or a movie. Like recently I watched a movie called The Mauritanian, which was basically about the 20th hijacker or supposed 20th hijacker in the 9/11 bombings and how he was treated in Guantanamo Bay. Now, as someone who's interested in that sphere, I knew nothing about Guantanamo Bay. I now do know quite a bit about Guantanamo Bay, or at least a lot more than I did. It's important just there to say that you can use various different resources, and to sort of tie this and make this make the sense I was wanting it to make. You can get that information from a movie, but there are some things that you cannot get the way you want to. There might be some things that you particularly want to learn about that there just aren't podcasts about, or there aren't very many YouTube videos about, or movies about. I would wager there will be a lot of books about that thing. And this is where I say sometimes you have to dedicate a portion of yourself to going, fuck man, I really don't want to do that, but it's something I know is good for me to do, so I'm just going to get it done, and I'm just going to put myself towards that. And what's good there is you can spend most of your time in the optimal way of acquiring the goal, and then you can allow yourself the luxury of saying, well, I also did that, and I didn't want to do that. And then you get that good little, yeah, I'm disciplined buzz. And we all want that. Now, as I say, to a certain degree, you need to bite the bullet, and you need to do some things that you don't like doing. But it doesn't make sense to follow this creed across the entire basis of your life. And the reason why it doesn't make sense to do this is because you're just going to slow everything up. As someone who has spent a long time, as I say now, in the sort of improvement method of living, I have noticed that there are a lot of things that I've been doing in a stupidly hard way and just don't make sense for me to do. And as a result of that, I'm not affording myself, one, as much time to do the thing that I'm actually wanting to do, but two, I'm also making things very unenjoyable when they don't need to be. And additionally, I would say I'm stopping myself from doing things that would make me more likely to be, on the whole, happier. So if my work ethic has said, you're going to stay in here for 3 hours today, no matter what, and you don't actually have 3 hours worth of work to do, you might stop yourself from going out on that nice walk that you thought, oh, the sun's out, I really actually quite like to go on a walk. You might stop yourself from doing something that is in actual fact more important. And this is why I say that it's important for you to find the most seamless and frictionless way of living, but just grounded in strong behaviours. It's not so difficult to listen to a podcast as it might be for you to read a book, but there is a difference between you listening to a podcast and scrolling on TikTok. If you embed yourself in doing the right habits in the easiest of ways, you will get the results you're looking for, and you will avoid the things that you don't want to be a part of. I would say a useful tip for anything you hear online when it comes to do this, do that, is, he says, as giving you one of the do this, do that's. If you see something like take a cold shower, or wake up at 5 a.m, or read a book, or whatever it is, go for a run, try it, see how it works for you. If you don't like it because you just... There will be a difference between, for instance, when I started with cold showers, I didn't like them, but I could see the through-road of value, and I was prepared to sort of take on that feeling because I thought it was worthwhile. If you do something, like for instance for me sparring, and you go, fuck this man, I fucking hate this, and this is nothing that I don't want to do this. If that's what you're feeling, sack it off. Don't do it anymore, and find the next best thing, or find another good way of doing it. Or, as I say, implement some form of 80-20% rule where you look at it and you go, I don't like doing that thing, but I can see the value of doing it, so I'm going to do it just less. And for me, for instance, with sparring, now I'm going to go and do it with my friends, because I find that more useful in terms of doing it well, and I'm getting the benefits of the thing I don't like doing in a way that's not so strenuous for me. Now, as I said at the start of this video, we all want a lot of quality to our lives. We want strong bodies with virtuous minds and freeing souls. We don't want to be spending our time just looking busy for the sake of looking busy. We want to actually be doing things and making moves, doing stuff that you actually want to be doing. So, with that in mind, don't choose the most heavy way of consuming a topic if it means that you're going to spend longer doing that and you're not going to learn as much. Find the way that works best for you and spend most of your time doing it that way. That's how you really combine the positive frames of doing good things with being happy, and that's a critical part of this. Don't make yourself miserable just for the sake of doing positive things. Find the way where you can do positive things in a manner that makes you happy. That's the win. That's what you've got to do. For instance, just to round this video out, I should use the example of the podcast. Now, as someone who has been self-proclaimed in their laziness and lack of desire to work for essentially their entire existence, I now work a lot more than a lot of people will. And the reason why I do that is because I'm sitting in front of a microphone talking about stuff that I like talking about. And this is not hard for me. I can sit in here for however many hours and it's really not that much of a problem because I quite like being in here. It's quite fun. If, for instance, you were doing... At one point, I wrote music. I used to be a rapper. Yeah, I know. You can imagine who I listened to a lot because I'm white. With that said, I was a rapper for a while. I used to write music. And in that time, I spent a great deal of my energy thinking, fuck me, have I been in here for 2 hours yet? Not actually focusing on the work that I was doing. And the point that lies within there is I was doing something that was very, very hard for me to do. And as a result, that friction was constantly there. So I couldn't push forward. Now, there is no friction to this at all. That's not to say it isn't hard, but it's based in things that are easy for me to do. I like talking, I like researching, and I'm quite happy to edit. And as a result, podcasting is a piece of piss for me most of the time. And I can do it more. The way to do things, the way to approach everything that you do is to find the most results-inducing, friction-reducing way of doing things. We all want growth and we all want results, but we don't need to waste time doing them. We don't need to waste time acquiring these goals. We all want this stuff, but it makes more sense if you do things in the quickest, most efficient of ways, to do it that way so that you can fuck off somewhere else with a smile on your face and go and run into the hills and enjoy your life. And who doesn't want to do that? Thank you for watching.